Welcome friends to a review of the 2023 Ford F-150 Raptor R. And this is no ordinary Raptor R. This has been modified with a lift. It's got custom wheels and tires on it, an exhaust system, and as you can see from the exterior, we have this insane bright green wrap. And a special thank you to Bentley of High Point, North Carolina for allowing me to review this automobile. If you're interested in purchasing this truck, this dealership can ship nationwide. And I will have Chris Rivas and his information on the screen as well as in the description box below if you want to contact him about this truck. But before we get this vehicle out on the road, let's crunch some numbers and let's talk specs, because we have here a 5.2 liter supercharged V8 engine. It's essentially a reworked Shelby GT500 engine, producing 700 horsepower and 640 pounds-feet of torque. Now, a 2023 Ram TRX would produce 702 horsepower and 650 pounds-feet of torque. But outside of that, the Raptor R tends to do better on a spec sheet compared to the Ram TRX. Because Car and Driver, they tested this truck to do 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds versus the TRX, which did it in 3.7 seconds. Not a big deal, just throwing it out there. And for 2024, they actually updated the Raptor R with a new front fascia and with 20 extra horsepower. So it's going to produce 720 horses, but really this is fine as it is. And there are other specs regarding the Raptor R that on paper is better than the Ram TRX. This weighs about 400 to 500 pounds less than the TRX. Depending on your wheel and tire configuration, this is just a little under 6,000 pounds. And we have a 10-speed automatic transmission with the Raptor R, which allows it to get slightly better fuel economy than the Ram TRX. This gets 10 mpg in the city, 15 out on the highway versus the 10 city, 14 highway for the TRX with its 8-speed automatic transmission. The Raptor R can also tow slightly more at 8,700 pounds. And we have slightly more payload here as well at 1,400 pounds versus the TRX. And the ground clearance, the approach, and the departure angles, they are all better with the Raptor R. But that's enough number crunching. Let's get this vehicle out on the road and see how it does. Well, this clearly is not an ordinary Raptor because we do have an exhaust system fitted to this truck. And surprisingly, these trucks, they do sound a bit subdued from the factory. I guess it's supposed to make this a little bit more daily drivable and livable, but the reality is if you buy these trucks, you got to do what the previous owner did and put an exhaust system on it. So that really wakes it up. But does this truck feel large and cumbersome to drive around town? Yeah, of course. It's a massive pickup truck that's been lifted even more, but eventually you do get used to it. And as one would expect, everyone is looking at the big bright green pickup. So if you love attention, well, there you go. But this is like a positive attention. Everyone is happy to see this truck out on the road. Yeah, this is probably the widest and largest vehicle I've ever operated around town, and these are some tight city roads, and you really do need to pay attention when you're behind the wheel due to the width. But the ride quality is truly sublime. I can't believe just how well this lifted truck is soaking up the bumps. But then again, the Fox shocks, they've always been absolutely excellent. Even with the 2019 Raptor that I tested before, these are always comfy trucks. Oh man, that is such a riot. We have some massive paddle shifters here. But really, the paddles, they react a bit lethargic, so you're better off just leaving this truck in its automatic mode, and it seems to do a better job when the truck is doing its own thing. And the active exhaust, it truly does make a difference. You notice it getting louder in the sport mode, but really when you have everything in normal, this truck, it behaves like a normal F-150. It's totally daily drivable. The ride quality is great. So once you get used to the size, no issues. Yeah, as soon as you put this truck into sport, you do notice that the burbles, even at your regular speed, it gets louder. Well, is this truck fast? To be honest, it's not like 700 horsepower in a regular car, right? This feels about as quick as a 450 or 500 horsepower sedan or coupe. But make no mistake, this is absolutely a riot, very entertaining to drive, and you feel this truck getting a bit skittish on you. Yeah, that's just diabolical. It's just a menace to society, such a disturbance to your local neighbors. But unlike most Hellcat products, this Raptor R, it's giving you more exhaust sounds than supercharging whine. So it just depends on what sound signature you prefer more. I do like this reworked GT500 engine, but the Hellcat whine is very entertaining. I'm sure you can put an intake on this truck to help enhance that supercharging sound, but I just wanted to let you know what this really sounds like from inside the cabin. Nice strong brakes. When you're driving this truck around town, because the brakes are so good, you have no issues with stopping. You don't feel like you're going to rear end the person in front of you. When you take your everyday turns, this truck is managing its weight exceptionally well. So if you have any passengers in here, they're not going to be flipping and flopping around. This is not a cumbersome experience in terms of handling and stability. It's really just the size that you have to get over, especially in city traffic. That's really the only con driving this particular truck. Other than that, even with the lift and the crazy tires, this truck, it's driving normal, it's tracking straight, no issues. I was told that with this setup, there is no rubbing at all, but I have to say, when I was maneuvering this truck in the parking lot, I did notice subtle like shudders coming through the steering. I'm not sure if that's just the all-wheel drive system or if it's actually rubbing. I don't know, it's hard to tell. It certainly feels fine out on the road, and when I take my everyday left-hand, right-hand turns, I don't notice any weird noises. In fact, there's no weird noises at all as I'm driving this truck. It might not be the fastest thing I've ever tested, but wow, is it so entertaining. It takes a lot to surprise me nowadays, but this vehicle is really putting a smile on my face. To achieve the crazy 3.6 second 0 to 60 time, you would have to put this truck into its launch mode and really brake torque it, but if you're just around town and you step on it, then I don't necessarily get that insane pushback sensation into my seat. That's okay, I don't need that. This is still very entertaining. It's still getting up to high speeds without any issues. And overall, I just love how well this truck is calibrated. Everything is just on point. The steering weight, the ride, the engine and the transmission, it's just all so livable. What a time to be a car enthusiast. There's so many just insane and special products like this available to you right now. So if you have the means, take advantage of it. But with that established, let's go ahead and let's transition into this interior segment now. Okay, now that we are stopped, let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior space. Overall, pretty solid cabin. Certain panels, when you press up against it, you can notice some movement, but overall, I would say pretty good in here. I do like the stitching, the carbon fiber, the leather and the suede work, and all of the Raptor R badging throughout. And these Raptor Rs, they pretty much come fully loaded. The only real option to tick is the pano moonroof, which this particular vehicle does come with. So this truly is a fully loaded truck, but as standard with the Raptor R, you get the Bang & Olufsen audio system, which genuinely does sound pretty good, and the speaker grills look good as well. The massive 12-inch infotainment screen, it's elegantly implemented inside of the dash. It's quick to respond. You have your Apple CarPlay, your Android Autos, no issues there. You have your separate buttons for your HVAC, but you do have to refer back to the screen to see your temperature and your fan speeds. We have a wireless charging pad, we have the heated and cooled seats. All of this comes as standard. The steering wheel feels great and sporty. I love the massive paddle shifters, although as mentioned during the drive, the paddles, they don't really respond the best. I prefer to just leave it in the automatic mode, let the vehicle do its thing, and it shifts seamlessly. You have plenty of cubbies and storage spaces, as one would expect, because at the end of the day, this is still an F-150. Plenty of space inside in terms of headroom and legroom. I am 5'11", but clearly you can be a lot taller than me and have no issues fitting. And to get in and out of this truck, there is an electronically deployable side step with this truck, so that really helps out. No issues getting in and out due to those side steps. The gear lever can actually fold completely flat to give you a table of sorts. And the front windows with this truck, they're actually double pane glass here. And this custom truck has really dark tint as well, so that's keeping out a lot of the heat from the sun. But moving to the back, once again, in typical F-150 crew cab fashion, we have plenty of rear legroom and headroom, and you can fold up the rear seats to give you additional storage as well. The truck bed in the back, it has a spray-in bed liner, and like a regular F-150, it comes with the deployable step and the pole that you can grab onto to easily get in and out of the bed. And as mentioned at the beginning, this truck can tow 8,700 pounds. It's got a payload capacity of 1,400 pounds. So it's still very capable. And most importantly, it's just a hoot to drive. So with that established, let's go ahead and let's conclude this review. All right, concluding thoughts on the 2023 Raptor R. Well, what's not to like? The vehicle is an absolute riot to drive, and that custom exhaust that this particular test car had, it really adds to the excitement. It takes a lot to impress me nowadays, but this particular truck, it really put a smile on my face, as you can see from the driving segment. And most importantly, despite all of the modifications like the lift, the wheels, the tires, this Raptor still drives like a normal truck. It's not tramlining, it's not following the imperfections of the road, it's not doing anything weird. I love the stability, the handling, and just how normal this truck feels to drive. The only real con out on the road is simply the added width, because the tires are now poking out even further. So you always have to be cognizant of the width of this truck when you're driving it around town. Other than that, no issues. The vehicle rides great. The engine and transmission responds seamlessly out on the road, whether you are driving it aggressively or just smoothly around town. It's just a very livable package. And if you want to tone down the exhaust, you can do so by the button on the steering wheel. You can just put the exhaust into its normal setting and it does get a little bit quieter. So that does help. Now, regarding the rubbing, I was told that this truck doesn't rub the way that it's set up, but in a parking lot at slow speeds, I did notice some subtle judders or vibrations coming through the bottom of the vehicle. It could just be the all-wheel drive system, I'm not sure, but that's the only other con that I noticed. Other than that, very smooth, drives perfectly out on the street, even when I take my everyday left-hand, right-hand turns. At the beginning, I made several spec sheet comparisons with the Ram TRX. Sadly, I never drove the TRX, but we know that these vehicles, they transcend the specs, and no matter what truck you go with, these are all going to be very exciting experiences. But typically, with the Stellantis products and with the Hellcat vehicles, they do try to emphasize that supercharging whine a little bit more. But with this Raptor R, we're really just getting the exhaust noises primarily. You could try to put an intake on this Raptor R to help enhance that supercharging whine, but I'm really satisfied with the noise the way that this is with a simple exhaust mod. One little spec sheet comparison I forgot to mention at the beginning is the Raptor R does have a slightly larger fuel tank than the TRX. We have a 36-gallon fuel tank with the Raptor R versus 33 gallons with the TRX. It just seems like most of these Ford trucks, they tend to one-up the competition in terms of specs. So if that's important to you, there you go. And this Raptor R, it really is like the Porsche GT3 RS of the truck world. It's the end game truck. It's the pinnacle of what a modern truck can be. So if you're into this, there you go. And if you appreciate the mods that this particular truck has, you can reach out to Bentley of High Point, North Carolina. This dealership is able to ship nationwide. If you had a vision of what this Raptor R could be and this vehicle is meeting that, well, there you go. The bright green wrap is protecting the black paint underneath. You got the lift, the tires, a very nice exhaust system, dark tint, and it simply drives great. It's putting a smile on my face. So if you're interested, you can reach out to Chris Rivas. I will have his phone number on the screen and in the description box for you to contact. And also, if you happen to be in the Charlotte area, Chris Rivas also runs an exotic car rental business. So if you want to rent some exotic cars, I will have Chris Rivas and his Instagram page also linked in the description box below if you want to reach out to him regarding that. But thank you again for watching. Take care and goodbye.